Recording. We're recording. Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Hang on. That's better.
The transmission.
The transmission has begun with Claire, Lani, and Laurie, the Intergalactic Council of Three. And we've missed you all so much. And we're back and we're ready to go.
Yes.
So we thought a lot of conversations are coming up with very consistent themes for all of us, talking to our friends, colleagues, etc. And one of the biggest conundrums that people seem to struggle with is this whole concept of you've got to do the work on yourself and only yourself. You've got to put yourself first. You can't do it with anybody else. It's all about me, 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 which is music to my ears, as my wonderful friends and boyfriend know. It is all, in fact, about me. And then the 3D response to that is so selfish. And I get that especially from parents who, you know, literally they don't even feature on the list of what about me. It's all about everybody else. And it just seems to be a real conundrum in the 3D world when we're meant to do all this work and we're being told you must do it on yourself, put yourself first, and then we think, well, that just shrieks of this sort of narcissism, this self-centeredness, selfishness. So I thought that might be quite a fun thing to share our experiences with, and just see if we can shine a light on it as we do.
And it's so true. I mean, there is so many times where people, you're doing the work and they'll be like, you know, so what is like the difference between doing your work and feeling you're excelling, and then someone looking at you and being like, I don't know, that's, you know, because it's not about them.
It's not about them. And then what you've got to do is remind them that it is in fact about them, and it's about them, and it's about them, and it's about every single person on the planet, all having, in my philosophy, all having an individual journey primarily in accordance with their soul contract that they wrote in spirit land before they incarnated. They came down with a set of themes that they wanted to explore in our wonderful adventure playground that we call three-dimensional Earth. And there is also and there's also that, and sometimes quite scary adventure playground. Let's be honest, it's not a smooth run. And there's also a collective aspect that we're doing this as humanity for the good of the whole of the human aspect of who we are as souls in soul consciousness. So I explain to people that I just go back to quantum mechanics. To change the world, it's too big to try and look at what we do to change the world. And the biggest subject that keeps coming up, controversy, is why should I go green? Why should I be environmentally friendly when all the countries, including ours, are belching out fumes and destroying the planet? You know, my little multi-use carrier bag is not going to do it, is it? Let's be honest. My walking to work is going to make no difference at all. And then that's an excuse for them to do nothing and to get cross, because now they feel disempowered and they're not responding to the world's demands in a way that's authentic for them, which is they want to be environmental, they want to be compassionate to the earth, they want to act responsibly. But now they're getting in a mess because they can't, because they're not going to make a difference on their own. So they do nothing. That makes them cross because something needs to be done. And we just go round and round the same theme. So I just remind everybody that as a quantum universe, we are all connected. And do you remember back in the day, some bright spark said we were connected by 7 degrees of separation? Are you familiar with that concept?
I am familiar with that, yeah. And
I recently heard that we're maybe down to 3 or 4 because of the global aspect, the internet.
Well, we're so connected. I mean, in so many ways.
Exactly. So we're connected technologically, we're connected with thought streams, and we're connected in the quantum way because we are all part of the same energy. So if we change our vibration, we cannot help but have an impact on the people around us in our sphere of influence.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's like throwing a pebble in the lake and then watching it ripple out. You know?
Ripple out. So you can't act in isolation. It is impossible to be isolated in this world. Everything that we do, think, feel, and act upon has an effect, energetic effect on everything around us. So my answer is put yourself first. It is all about me. Celebrate the me, because if I do that internal cultivation, if I do that spirit level self-development and change my vibration and shift it up, then by default, the pebble in the water, I'm going to ripple that effect out to everybody in my sphere of influence, which is apparently now globally down to about 3 degrees of separation. So we can make a difference. We can absolutely make a difference by putting ourselves first, by concentrating on our journey, and be the best that we were born to be. So that's where I got to.
Lose sight of the simplicity of the idea that each of us have our own reality. So my reality is different than Lori's and different than yours. So if we are focused on our reality and we change that, which we have control of, then it automatically, like you said, has that ripple. But if we think so much about, like you said, the exterior, right, the supposed big picture, we get lost to the idea of we are literally in our own reality.
Yeah, and that goes a long way to explain why people don't agree on things, why rows and arguments and conflict breaks out, because you've got 2 people looking at the same view, say they're on a beach and they're looking at a sunset, and you ask them both maybe the next day, to describe that sunset to me, and one person will give you what was important to them and the other person will give you what was important to them, and you'll probably get 2 completely different versions of the same view, the same sunset. And if we take that and extrapolate that throughout life, and we allow ourselves to not have the same reality as everybody else on the planet, and we just honor our own reality and we honor theirs, I would imagine 80% of the conflict would disappear.
Yeah,
I would imagine. Yeah. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yeah, because it's like you're letting go of the power struggle.
Yeah.
The whole idea of me, and that's what I think, going back to the me is letting go of control. Like, I don't need control of Lori's world. I don't need to control Lori to think how I think. Yeah. It's not about that. If I look at what is blocking me from enjoying being next to Lori and having that different view of the sunset and hearing hers, it's like that whole, I think that's where, the illusionary idea of controlling how each of us view life.
Well, and I think what's different too in a 3D world, that everybody that's different or has any type of different, quote unquote, don't fit in the box, they have to title them and put them in a different category. It's like, so then they're automatically have that over their head. So how can you open your eyes, and think that you're really expanding and maybe it's part of your ascension when, you're here, just take this pill and that'll take it all away or whatever.
Don't get me started on that.
Start on that.
It kills me. Recently, again, speaking of your own journeys and things, I haven't been watching much television, and whatever I do watch, has been on the internet. So it's like, commercials. Right. So recently I've been watching commercials, right? And it's like every other one is a medical thing. And if it's not a medical thing, it's a financial thing. And it's just like you're bombarded with these viewpoints and these programs and these illusions. And I think that's the whole idea, is when you're on your self journey, you start seeing what's you, and you're allowing more of you to come out. And that's the importance of it, because then you can differentiate and see the stories that are illusionary for your journey. And I think that's the importance of the me stuff, is that you need to be able to differentiate and distinguish.
Right.
Yeah. Because
I'm going to stop there.
Yeah. No, that's that whole thing of learning to be able to say that's great for you, but that actually doesn't resonate with me and my truth. And that takes a hell of a lot of courage, because potentially you are going to alienate people, she says, with the alien glasses. You're going to be pushing you're going to appear to be pushing people away, because they're going to want to either make you come over to their way of thinking, or they're just going to drop you because you do not fit with their way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of our journeying in the early days has been about trying to conform, trying to fit with other people's truths. And then that real level of discomfort that rises and rises when you realize you're living a complete and utter lie, that you don't resemble anything of your true self. And then that whole bloody tower, you know, in the tarot card, it just comes crashing down. And people experience that in different ways, but it's violent and it's despairing and it's frightening. And then you sort of sit as a little crumpled heap on the floor and you think, I don't actually know who I am, because I've perfected this person for 30 years of not being me. And I've spent so little time being me, I don't even know where to begin to be me. And it's like building up those levels of, I suppose, just trusting yourself for the first time. You know,
that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. But, you know, it didn't happen to me till 42 years old, where I was in a void of, I called it my desert, my 3 years in the desert. I was devoid of everything, relationships. I just didn't know who I was. And I just began to start to, you know, cast around, look for like-minded souls, go on workshops, just trying to awaken something inside that I could say, oh, that is my truth. And then that whole thing, when you've got to get the courage to actually stand in it.
Right. Right. And then before you get to that and to stand in it, it can feel pretty isolating. At the same
I was just thinking about that. Yeah. The hermit journey.
Yeah.
And then it's like going from hermit to, again, like, not to be rude, it's different for everyone, but I'm not going to not watch television ever again or not experience the world. Like, you have to you know what I mean? Reacclimate yourself in.
Well, because we do live on this planet. We still have to be, like, we're still part of human.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean? But there's that stage that you get to where you've been a hermit because you needed that time to really, you know, isolate yourself to understand who you are. So everyone hermits in a different way, but it's like that acclimation, because that, I think, is on the awakening path, is hard for people to transition from the hermit stage to back in and ground and, you know, realize that it's not about shutting everyone out.
Right. But I feel like even in ascension, even when you are evolving, it's like you go through with the cycle again. Like, there's times where, you know, you find your like-minded friends, and then you like try to find there's like a little bit more truth you find about yourself, and you're like, wait, interesting. And then you kind of go through that little cycle again, and then you come out and it's great to look back and be like, wow, look at all you've gone the path and be like proud of yourself about it. But yeah, I swear it's just like, but people just keep falling. Like, you know, your world just keeps changing, and you never know what's around the corner. But
the circle, right?
Yes, it's definitely, it's the wheel for real.
It's the wheel for real, and it's also the spiral. It's also the spiral. Because
that's a really good way of looking at it.
A lot of people say to me, I cannot believe, and I've said it to myself so many times, I can't believe I'm here again. I thought I'd cleared this. I thought I'd done this. Why am I bloody here again? You know, it's not one step forward and two back. It's one step forward and I've fallen back 4.5 miles. And that's depressing, isn't it? You think, oh, I'm not enlightened at all. I'm just heavy muggle person. And then I keep reminding myself that actually the last time I was in that place was quite a long time ago. And I've had a huge amount of experience in that time, that I've gained insight, that I've had learning, that with any luck I've accrued some wisdom. So when I circle back round it and look down at the same place, I've got that much change and development between me and it. And then I can, it looks familiar, it feels familiar, but I am in such a different place to deal with it. So I'm clearing it at a much higher level, and I probably don't have to dive nose deep into it or spend any length of time there, because I've got all of that, you know, I've got that greater perspective.
Right.
But it does hit us hard, doesn't it? You know, when you go back and you think, oh God, no.
Right.
Yeah, because we're so hard on ourselves. I think that's the
Yeah.
other thing is like, for me
Mhm.
recently, I saw how I put myself in that striving, that goal setting, that achieving, program, which is so out there. And some of us, want to be A+ on it. And I saw that when you just really look back and see how much, and you just are present with what is in your life, you've hit so much that you're not appreciating what you have, because you're
Mhm.
so just, thinking that you have to get to that next stage. And for me, that's where I feel like I've lost it, right? I feel like I've hit, rock bottom, whatever, the wall. And then I look back and I'm like, you've actually really done a lot and come so far. Like you said, exactly what you said. And I think it's again, that deeper sense of self, that deeper awareness that
Mhm.
there's nothing that we need to achieve, that we just need to be. And it's so funny. It's like the more, however you want to say, higher states, higher understanding, enlightenment, whatever, is you see this true simplicity
Yeah.
of why we're here, and not to get trapped in that illusionary
Right.
idea of striving and achieving.
And at every step is just give yourself love and compassion along the way. So, but that's, sometimes it's really hard when you're in it, It's like,
100%.
Yeah. And there's a huge 3D aspect to us that says you're not being productive unless you're achieving.
But that's the programming. That's
the programming, isn't it?
Yeah.
And our cultural programs, when I hear everything that, people told me when I was young, and it was all for the right reasons. It was well meant at the time, but it was definitely a 3D journey. But we sort of take that with us into this journey, and then we wrong-footed, because as you said, Lani, you can't keep setting goals for the spiritual journey. That seems anathema to me. That's just taking yourselves down to a lower vibration of
Correct.
It's like that whole performance thing where you measure yourself inevitably against others, and then find yourself horribly wanting. But it brings out the ego. It brings out the big ego, because you're constantly, having to measure your performance inevitably against somebody else's to see where you're at. And then that becomes competitive. And
oh my goodness.
But, so not the journey that we're on, which is just about expansion and as you say, just tapping into the heart space. All we have to do is sit in love, joy, compassion. That's it. That's it. You don't have to strive to do anything beyond that.
But those programs are seated so deep to try to pull out of them, it does kind of trickle its way in there.
Yeah. Oh,
and then when you do pull out, within 5 minutes, you're back in absolute fear, because you've dipped your toe in the water of trust and faith in your higher self, your monadic guidance, the universal sort of wisdom. And then you sit there and you think, yes, I can do this. And then you think, oh my God, the mortgage needs to be paid. Right. I'm going to get that money. And within a heartbeat, we're back into that downward spiral of fear, and then having to control, having to perform, having to achieve. And it's counterintuitive to where we are when we sit in that space of just trust and faith. And knowing that everything will happen according to our highest good, and that can only ever be perfect. There is no other way to be.
And then once we do that, we're back at the zero set, we're back at the reset, and then we have that choice again, where we align to, where we go to. And that's where the growth is, that's where our own ascension is. And we don't have, if we think how many times we do that a week, come on, people. Like, we do not, even daily, like, we don't give ourselves enough credit. And I think what, all the three of us, how we even got here, is that whole idea of connecting and just like unlocking these beautiful messages that we have within. And we can't do that unless you see outside of yourself. So you do the whole me thing, right? And then you allow opportunity and people to come to you, and you just enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that ripple effect. You just
Oh.
kind of have it go
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
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 And
Because the story of meeting you girls is awesome.
in our state of abject rebellion,
Right? Seriously, rebellion.
we're not doing it
100%
that way.
rebellion.
Yeah, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way.
But that's fully the knowing, right? We went in our truth. We went in our
Right.
full state of truth.
That's a perfect
And-
example, right?
And then we ran literally ran
Into
into
each
each
other.
other.
Yeah. 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 It's that whole thing. Have you heard of transactional analysis? It's a sort of relationship behavioral sort of
I have
framework.
heard of it. Yes.
And the concept is I'm okay, you're okay.
Mhm.
So you don't have to make the other person agree with you, nor do you have to agree with them. They're not right, you're not wrong, vice versa. It is just as it is. And I think if I say that once more to my boyfriend, he will probably strangle me. And he says, no. He says, no, wait, you're going to say, it is as it is, my darling. I am going to say that.
You just put those all over the house.
Yeah, I am going to say that because that's exactly what this part of this journey is. It is as it is. And if we
It
step
is.
out of the judgment, if we
Mhm.
step out of the attachment to the outcome, if we
Yep.
step out of needing anything to happen, because I swear the energy of need is for me the most distorting emotion of all of the emotions, because we need it, and therefore that whole beautiful
so
universal
heavy.
flow, yes, so heavy, so and it
Mm.
just
It is.
can't hear, see, feel any truth at all. So I think that's a
You're
really
blind. You can't see anything for real. Yeah.
no. And then we slip into
And
fear,
then we tap
and then
into the lack consciousness like straight away.
straight away, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll
But
watch
that's
the
what
people
we're
around us.
programmed to do.
But that's what I mean is it's all around, right? And that's
Yes.
what I've been seeing, and that's what it is, that again, that need to go within, and then
Yeah.
when you go within, to also be aware of what's around, because it's easy to be in your own fantasy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it is good to
Into
see
your
it
need.
as well.
Into the need.
Yeah, because again, you think you have to have your life a certain way to be connected, when you are connected all the time.
Yeah.
And you can again be aware of what's around you, and it does not affect you in that way.
Yeah, and
Truly.
that is such a valid point, where people ask, well, you look at what's going on with Donald Trump and all of this madness. How can you not feel angry? And I said, well, I don't feel angry. I don't feel angry at all. I am observing from a detached third position, because
Yep.
I'm not going to add to the drama.
There you go.
Feed that lower vibration of hate, anger, jealousy, envy, all the 7 wonderful deadly sins. I just have chosen not to feed the energy. And so I'm going to sit in light field energy, high vibration, non-judgment, love, compassion. I'm going to see how everybody is suffering in their journey. I'm going to pour love and light toward them.
That's it.
I respect their journey. I'm not going to try and change it. I'm just going to surrender to all of it, because it's everybody has to run it through the way they see fit for their own contract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And bringing him up and looking at it in retrospect, all the stuff he's brought up that needed to be talked about.
Yeah.
So
He's a catalyst. He's an absolute catalyst.
Catalyst in so many ways,
And
whether you like it or not. You know?
Exactly. Deeply uncomfortable, but when you stand out of some emotional response to him and just observe what he's doing, you're so right. He's done things that everyone else has felt disempowered to do because of protocol, diplomatic doodahs, ages held enmity and all of that. But he's just walks straight through it all and say you like him, you loathe him, or you feel nothing, but you observe he is shaking it up.
Well, I also think of the phrase Captain Obvious. So he's an obvious target. You use that when you're in school, when you're in grade school, like Captain Obvious came to town, like when someone says something. But it's the idea that that's what we say in my family. When you say something like obvious, you're like, nice, Lonnie, Captain Obvious. Like, it's so true.
Do you do that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Yes, I'm here today. But yeah, I think that's with him. He has that target, and it's easy for us to be like, he's an obvious, target for all the things that are wrong with the world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that brings up, right? That's bringing up everyone's shadow.
Yeah.
And things that maybe they want to put in the world, and they think, oh, okay, I'm going to do that now because this and this and this. So it does breed a lot of other beautiful movements, not just negativity.
I mean, look at the feminine rising. I mean, you can see it now. I mean, you always felt it, but now you can see it.
And he kicked that straight dead center. We didn't need much to rise, but I mean, he just
invited you to go straight in there. Exactly. Right? And that's where I feel we are as I heard a phrase, spiritual warriors. I'm not sure how I feel about the spiritual bit, but I do feel far more warrior energy coursing through my alien veins, in as much as what we're doing here, actually standing in our truth, talking openly about what we believe, not worrying about the sort of reaction to it, just putting it out there, just allowing everyone to have their own viewpoint, and we're just going to join the party. We're just going to be part of that, speaking the truth, standing in the truth, and just saying, I don't need anything to happen because of it, but I do feel compelled to say it out loud.
And it is nothing but a party. So, I might have fun with it.
I know.
And I think that's what we lose sight of, right? Is the joy. What
it
do
is
we
the joy
for?
Yeah.
Joy, right? To bring joy and to be the joy, right? That whole phrase, to be the joy.
Be the
joy. So I think, again, the simplistic is, I think of Yoda a lot. Hello, Yoda. I've had a lot of Yoda phrases recently. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, to be the joy. Like, why do we make life so complicated?
Yeah. Suffering is not mandatory on this planet.
No.
It's something that we've brought in as a way of exploring the ends of the spectrum of what is not love, what is not compassion, what is not joy. How would we recognize it unless we'd experienced what it isn't? That's the human condition, in my book. We're not that clever. We're not that advanced as humans. We are as the soul aspect, but the human aspect isn't actually that advanced.
We're trying, though. We sure are trying.
We're trying. We are. So, Lani, I was inspired. Oh, you can't see that because my light's so.
Oh, you got it!
I got the work your light, and I was playing with my friend Dawn yesterday. She came over. We really wanted to raise the vibration of our Remembrance Sunday. We have a big sort of national Remembrance Day on the 11th of November, because that was the armistice. That was when peace broke out at the end of the First World War. It's a heavy day.
It was 11/11/11. So
and it was the 11/11 was the gateway. So the 11/11. So instead of watching the Remembrance services on the television, which I've always done, and I feel very heavy, and I feel the collective grief and the just that, oh my God, the waste of the millions of those boys' lives and the women, the kids. I decided that I'd actually go into the 11/11 gateway at 11/11/11, and my friend Dawn came over, and we worked with these cards, Work Your Light, and my God, they were strong and powerful, absolutely astonishing. Absolutely. So I wondered, would you be happy if we drew one today?
Of course.
Please. My pack.
And you'll do better with the book than I did last week.
Well, how interesting, because one of us drew that same card, the council. What was it? The Council of Light.
Council of Light, yes.
Yeah, and I remembered that you couldn't find it in the book, and I was flicking through the book thinking, God, there's no numbers here. There's no page numbers.
It's sometimes tricky.
Back to 3D.
Right.
So much love. So, ladies, would you like to say stop? Just tune in.
I'll let Laura do it this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about stop?
Yep. Okay. So collectively, we have got, break the chain, ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future.
Love it.
Right there.
On point.
Can you see that?
I
Yep.
love this
So there's
deck.
like
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love this deck.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
amazing.
this deck. So
Lori, you've got to get it now, right?
I
yeah,
know.
you've got to get it.
To
So,
We all three will have it now.
go get mine now. I can't be left out here.
Can't be-
so everything's
I
in
know.
threes. Everything's in threes. So break the chains. It's difficult to find these, isn't it? Break the chain. Got it. 78. 15, 78. Okay.
Especially when you're on camera and being timed. I mean, that's no
Or no
pressure.
performance anxiety. I can frankly make you wait for hours. Not you.
You get graded on this, Claire. Come on.
Okay. Break the chain. You are being called to heal your family line or free yourself from living the life of your ancestors. This could mean letting go of an old pattern of your maternal or paternal line, healing trauma from the past that is not even yours, or observing old ways of being that no longer serve you. We carry emotional trauma in our luminous field for up to 7 generations back. That is why family patterns can be the hardest to break. Often they are not even ours to begin with, but we do not know another way of being, and so we continue playing out the drama. The thing to notice when ancestral healing comes up is that you cannot heal another person, but your own healing can cause another person to choose to heal. Energy is freed up. You are being guided now to look at your life and decide how you want it to be. What ways of being or patterns are you ready to free yourself from? What part of your future do you want to rewrite? Now is the time to shake them off and dream a new future into being. What old ways of being from your family line are you ready to let go? Seek assistance from your support team, your tribe, your friends, your healer coach to begin freeing yourself from it now. So that's pretty much everything that we've been saying for the last 30 minutes.
Right.
So
The old
much
patterns, not being able to break out, not knowing who we
I
are.
have one question, which might not have enough time to answer. But so, do you feel like when you raise, we're raising our DNA, crystalline DNA, do you feel like we let go of all the history of our family when we rise because it doesn't resonate with it anymore?
if we allow it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's there if we want to go, we can access it by going back into the 3D. I think
Mhm.
everything exists in the 3D eternally because it is that adventure. It is our learning ground.
Gotcha. Okay.
And for me, the way of resolving it is to step above 3D, go into a higher vibration, and then we tap into the wholeness, we see through the illusion, we connect with our heart, we step into the vibration of love and compassion. So we don't need to play the game of ancestral karma.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
It's that
don't know.
awareness again. That
Yeah.
beautiful awareness.
I think
Yeah.
it's there if we need to be conscious of it. It serves a purpose for people to work through victimhood, to work through disempowerment. Because if you think you've brought through this stuff and it's not even yours, but you're cursed with it, and I do know a couple of people who feel that way.
There's
then
times
you
I
are-
feel that way. That's why I ask, because there's,
Well,
what if
that's-
you.
Yeah, well, maybe you can just reconnect with your sense of power and your truth, and you can determine whether you want to be part of that in that vibration, or whether you're just literally going to step out of it, because without you adding to it, it comes to a close anyway.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. You said it so
Doesn't
simply,
it?
Claire. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
I've never said that before, and I've never thought that before. So thank you to my guides who are channeling, because
Right? Thank you.
that is the first time I've ever heard myself have that thought. If we don't add to the drama, if we don't perpetuate it, it finishes there and then.
It's breaking that loop. And
Break the chain.
we do that with everything else, but I think when it comes to the family thing, the programming, the deeperness about it is we forget we choose everything we're in. So we can just choose that as well. And not have to, like you said, go so deep, because I feel like the more we have self-mastery, the less we have to go so deep. But just that point of awareness, okay, I got it's a loop and done, dusted.
Yeah,
because it is all the simplicity. It's the.
I tell you, it's the simplicity. I know.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Love it.
We just choose to not engage with that story, with that illusion.